Let's get ready for a little stock up, stock down.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. So, Jimmy, we'll piggyback on something Bama Online is doing, which is a stock up, stock down. And because I think it's always fun to do, it's especially fun to do when we've got an off week. And we've had 3 games under our belt. So I think it's legit to say, okay, what is actually moving here?
Yeah, 25% done with the season.
Man, doesn't that just bother you? Saying that out loud bothers me.
Oh, yeah. It's like we count down the days, the months, the weeks to get here, and it gets here, and it's like, boop, gone.
Let me tell you something. I hate summer. I do. I hate summer because it's not football related. So anyway,
Luke,
okay.
The song of the summer is "This Place Sucks"
by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow. Anyway, so stock up, stock down. I think, and look, I'm not going to just go with what BOL said. We're going to make up our own. But I know they said this one, and that's Ty Simpson. His stock is up, and it's way up.
Yeah.
This is one that you could have gotten, pretty cheap early on. And after the first week, you saw some movement, but nothing great. And then the last 2 games, he's been phenomenal. The one thing that would scare me if I were a Ty Simpson stockholder would be this next game. If Georgia, who is traditionally, at least over the last decade or so, has been a menace to quarterbacks, if Ty Simpson is another victim to the Bulldogs, that could certainly affect his stock. Conversely, if he goes out there and plays well and, heaven forbid, beats Georgia, his stock will be through the roof, and so you'll be happy you got in on it early.
The verdict is still out on Ty to me. Thrilled with the last 2 weeks. He looks to the eye spectacular. He's even dealing with the blitz well the last 2 weeks. But you can't shake week 1 out of your head. You can't shake that. And again, I'm going to stick with this golf analogy. The first week, Ty played on a major course and shot 75. Not good, not awful, 75. Then he played his local municipal course 2 weeks in a row and shot freaking 66. He looked like a freaking pro golfer headed for the PGA Tour on a local municipal course. This weekend, it's off to Augusta, right? So the course is far more difficult. He looks like a pro on the public course. How's it going to look in Athens, Athens/Augusta National? And I agree with you. Look, I mean, this is the test. The test wasn't Monroe and Wisconsin, but I'm optimistic that Ty's going to be the guy that we thought he would be. And I go back to last December, a lot of people wanted to discard Ty and immediately move to Keelan last December. I think Ty is, it just takes a minute for some of these kids. Ty wasn't ready in 2023. He looks ready now.
I'm going to give a big mea culpa here and say that I'm not good at this quarterback thing, apparently. I feel like I have a good handle on quarterbacks and football in general, like with the intangibles. But last year, I predicted that Ty Simpson would ultimately take Jalen Milroe's spot. Or actually 2 years ago, I think I thought that. And then
I would win the job in 23.
I thought Ty might have a shot at it after, Milroe hit the skids there for a minute. Then this year, I thought Keelan Russell would end up being the guy eventually. And, so I'm not good at this. So I have no problem saying
I thought Ty would win the job in 23. Sometimes my opinions are, let's say, aided by inside scoop.
Sure.
Sometimes, not all the time. And, Saban, I think publicly has said, if it's not true, it is true. Saban thought the staff thought Ty was going to win the job in 23. And he didn't. He wasn't ready. Jalen Milroe gave the team a better chance to win games, and he did for 2 years, in my opinion. But now Ty is ready. We got to remember, kids they're not all the same. Some are ready day one, week one. That's not the norm. Others take a year, 2 years, 3 years. Jake Coker wasn't ready to do year 5. Then look what he did.
So another stock direction here. Stock down, clearly the running game. Clearly. Now, I think that it's a hold, though. If you have it hold until we see Jam Miller come back, let's not panic. No need to just sell everything just right now. The stock is down. It could make a recovery. It could come out with a new iPhone and the stock could shoot way up. So let's see what Jam does when he comes back from Georgia. And not only, it's not just Jam being the starter. And, obviously he's a good receiver. Obviously he's a good pass blocker. We've seen all that. Obviously he's a pretty good runner. I mean, he's going to get you usually 3 to 4 yards per carry. Okay. That's a good thing. But it also means the next guy gets to come in and play maybe a little more tired defense. The next guy also doesn't have the burden of heavy as the crown of the top rusher. Again, some people thrive moving into the top spot. Some people thrive being the backup. And so, and need a growth period and not to be thrust into a starting moment. I'm just saying, yes, stock down on running game 100%. It hadn't been pretty. I don't like it. It ain't good. But let's not say that we can't run the ball forever and ever, amen, until Jam comes back.
I like Luke's opinion a lot here, and I agree here strongly that stock down and biggest concern on the team. But there is reason to believe it's going to get better starting with Jam. Jam's the best running back on this team in 2025. When we look at this running back room in 2031, we'll probably go, boy, AK Deer was the best back. Well, not in 2025. 2031, he probably is the best in that group. But in 2025, it's Jam Miller. That's going to improve the run game. Secondly, I think teams now worried about Ty Simpson dinging them downfield. They're now worried about that. They weren't before. Now they are. That's going to help the run game. We won't see as many stacked boxes. I also think as Jaden Roberts gets more in game shape from all the time he missed and plays a bigger role at right guard, that will help the run game. It could be that Michael Carroll playing more and more snaps at right tackle. That may help the run game. Fifth would be Ryan Grubb making a little bit more of a commitment to a run game. And I think if you add up all of those things, Alabama could put together perhaps a substantive run game at some point. But it hasn't been good, and it's the number one concern on this team to me.
Now, you brought up something that just dawned on me. The way some teams have been playing Alabama so far, it feels like everybody's like, hey, if you can beat us with the pass, beat us. Now, Florida State was able to stop everything because number one, we played like total dog crap.
Well, we couldn't run.
But number two, they made us play like dog crap.
They did.
And we just, I don't think they were worried about anything from us. That's going to be the anomaly. Now, the ULM, I think we could have, if we wanted to run more and get more running touchdowns, I think we could have the way we were playing. I also thought it was very good to get Ty on a confidence high, so that when we ran into Wisconsin, who stacked the box pretty well, Wisconsin felt like they weren't a Ty believer to me.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
And he made them pay. And so now looking forward, maybe teams would be like, okay, this Ty kid, he ain't Tua Tagovailoa, but he's pretty good. So we've got to account for both things, which means we can't stack the box quite as much, which means we may have more running success. So while I look at the lack of success against Wisconsin, and I'm like, I don't like it, I also have to understand we won 38-14, and we dominated the game. We just didn't dominate it in a traditional Alabama fashion because we took what was given.
And a point that you just made that inspired an additional thought for me that we have to say sometimes I'm very guilty of this. I'm harping on we can't run the ball. We just scored 38 points, had a bunch of offense. I think we only punted twice. in the whole game and didn't turn over the ball. So we scored on just about every possession. It is a little crazy to be critical of and go, yeah,
No.
yeah, I know you scored on every possession, but you didn't run the ball well. That's kind of dumb. The offense's job is to move the ball and score the points, take what the defense gives you, move the ball, keep the ball, score points. They did that. They only punted twice, never turned the ball over. Maybe we're being too critical about how they do it. Do we have to give the Jack Nicholson speech about how dare you question the blanket of security, the blanket of freedom I'm providing you, and then you question the manner in which I provide it? I think we're doing a little of that here. Just score points. They're doing that fine. Boy, I butchered that Jack Nicholson thing, but you know what I was saying.
I did, and since you were on a roll, I didn't stop you, aka Germans bomb Pearl Harbor. But I was like, "Woo!" Jack Nicholson was like, he doesn't need to do acting, and I don't need to do a podcast.
Yeah, watch the movie. That's what Jack Nicholson said.
Mazda. They craft cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every single model. Mazda is the absolute best with all-wheel drive standard. In every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players at Alabama, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and then be moved. Then there's DoorDash. I love DoorDash. The other day when I told you, I said, hey, I'm going to get DoorDash. Guess what I did? Got me some DoorDash. I love DoorDash. It's so easy. Look, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For Alabama, Bray Hubbard delivered in a big way. He had 2 interceptions, was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. He shared it with somebody, which I think is nuts. I really hate it when they do that. He was just fantastic, and he's made everybody almost forget that FSU performance. When the pressure was on, Bray Hubbard came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance isn't going to be a fluke. He's getting better and better. Bray Hubbard is going to be on a streak, yo. And just like that, Bray Hubbard delivered for Alabama, and DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday on your order, stack it all up all season, and you can save up to 250 smacks, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. That's DoorDash. Okay, so Josh Pate has come out with his quarterback rankings. This ties in a little bit with stock up, stock down, because while I on one hand, I'm sitting here telling you all, hey, we should be buying Ty Simpson stock, but be cautious, because, when he plays, he's about to play a bunch of really good teams in a row. So maybe we should just be cautiously optimistic. So why am I offended when Josh Pate, who I find brilliant, who I find just like me in terms of college football, he loves the sport, he wants good things for the sport, and who is a friend of the program, and who somehow I envy his bald head. I think everything is good about Josh Pate. Why am I PO'd a little bit that he has Ty Simpson at 8th on his quarterback list, and 2 dudes behind Ty are the 2 dudes everybody thought would be a first-team All-SEC, either Lenore Sellers or Garrett Nussmeier. His list goes as such: John Mateer at 1, Taylor Green at 2, Joey Aguilar at 3, Bo Pribula at 4, Gunnar Stockton at 5, Marcel Reed at 6, Diego Pavia at 7, and then, of course, Ty Simpson. Now, it should be noted that most of those quarterbacks are undefeated, with the exception of Joey Aguilar, who lost to Gunnar Stockton in Georgia, and Taylor Green, of course, who lost to Ole Miss, but it wasn't
Apparently.
anything on him. It was his defense's problem. And then Lenore Sellers and Ty Simpson each have a loss, of course. But I don't know. Look, I like Taylon Green. I do. I watched that Arkansas game, and the one thing that made me happy, I was like, I'm going to tell you something. I'm glad we don't play Arkansas. I kind of wish we did because I don't think they could stop us. But I think they'd get their points. They're going to get their points on whoever. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
And Bo Pribula, he's pretty cool. I think he's good. But would I legitimately 100, no questions asked, take Bo Pribula over Ty Simpson right now? I don't know that I would.
I don't know that I would either. I would just say, first of all, I share the same opinion about Josh, friend of the show. He's been on the show. I'm sure that would shock people to learn. But Josh Pate's been on our show before. I don't have a problem with this ranking today. I mean, today, through 3 games, I think it's fair. But what I want to caution everybody is the September schedule for everybody does not look like the October and November schedule for everybody. I think major shakeups are coming. I agree with Luke in that sense. Major shakeups are coming to that list as everyone moves from the public and municipal golf course over to Pebble Beach and Augusta and Bethpage Black. I mean, that things are going to change for everyone when the degree of difficulty goes up. And I like Ty's chances to move up. I do. I'm an optimistic type, but I like Ty's chances to move up while some of those guys are going to go down. I think Taylon Green is probably the most interesting guy on the list. The NFL scouts are now starting to sell themselves on Taylon Green. I want to throw up a blinking yellow light for those guys about Taylon in the sense, I get your curiosity here. I'm not sure he's an accurate downfield passer. I think teams oversell the defending the run, and he throws to a lot of open guys. I would be cautious about that, but I don't know that there's a more fun quarterback to watch in the league. I can't rank Ty ahead of Diego Pavia, but I think Ty might play in the NFL. I'm not sure Pavia is, although he certainly has earned a shot.
The thing about Taylon Green, and I know it's fluid. I know this list is fluid, and that's what I appreciate about Josh. I don't think he'd have any problem at all if Taylon Green poops the bed against Memphis. I don't think he'd have any problem moving Taylon Green out of his top 10, which I appreciate. I think that's the way it should be. Let's go. It's a week-to-week thing while taking into account the full body of work as well. Because maybe Taylon Green has been the beneficiary of playing a pretty weak schedule with the exception of at Ole Miss, who doesn't have much of a defense themselves.
They're not great defensively this year. They lost so many of those dudes. They're pretty good.
Who's
they're
their
okay.
defensive coordinator again? Remind me.
Pete Golding.
I'll be darned.
It's funny how when they had really good defensive personnel, they had a top 10 defense last year. Now they don't have top 10 personnel, so they're not going to be a top 10 defense. That's sort of how it works. I know so many people want to say it's the coach, it's the coach, it's the coach. Maybe it's just me. I think it's the dudes.
But speaking of Taylon Green again, he's about to run through his own gauntlet. Listen to this. I mean, it's at Memphis for some reason. I actually don't mind it for Arkansas. Memphis is really in Arkansas. There's actually a West Memphis, Arkansas. So then Notre Dame, and if they don't beat Notre Dame this year, they will never beat them.
I might want to call my shot right now. I've been tempted to say it all summer that Arkansas wins that game. I'm not as sure now because Notre Dame is embarrassed, and an embarrassed team is a dangerous team. Maybe that loss to A&M may wipe my upset of the year off the board. But I do like – I bet that's tight.
You and I are on board that we have no problem with Notre Dame still being ranked because I don't want to penalize them for actually playing difficult teams.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm not sure that – I mean, I don't think they've had their last loss of the year. So Arkansas may be it.
I would point out that a team no one's talked about but me and Josh Pate and probably Colin Cowherd is USC. USC might be good. Do you know they had a terrible year last year but had a lead in the fourth quarter in every single game? They had a lead in the fourth quarter in every single game they played last year. They lost like 6 or 7 times with fourth quarter leads. They're better this year. Josh Pate's super high on him. Colin Cowherd never stops talking about Lincoln Riley. I think they might be roommates. But I think USC might beat Notre Dame.
Well, I'm going to say this. Here's something that and I know it's locked on Bama, but it all ties in. USC's got an interesting stretch coming up. They've got Illinois.
It's tough.
That's not going to be easy. And Illinois runs the kind of style that should give USC fits.
Physical, physical Lincoln Riley is, because that's the recipe, right?
That now, then they got Michigan and they got at Notre Dame, which feels a lot easier. They're at Oregon at some point.
That's almost certainly a loss.
But I'm with you. God, I could see USC only losing 2 games. The problem would be they would have needed Notre Dame to be a good team to count as a good win to probably get over the hump here, or they'd have to beat Oregon or something like that.
Now that Notre Dame has 2 losses, I'll point out, and this is related to Alabama because it's all about making the college football playoff field, right? Notre Dame not being in a conference now that they have 2 losses really hurts them. I mean, in the sense, Alabama could conceivably finish 9-3, but play in Atlanta because only 2 of the losses are conference losses, and you play in Atlanta, you're probably in the playoff field no matter what. I'm just saying Notre Dame doesn't have that extra game at the end that could get you in. They don't have that. They don't have that opportunity to play a 13th game that gets you in like the 4 major conferences do. So that's something to watch. I think Notre Dame loses one more time. I agree. It could be at Arkansas, could be USC. We'll see. A lot of good teams out there. There's a lot of good quarterbacks out there. When you went over that list, Josh Pate's quarterback list, the SEC is just chock full of quarterbacks. Some of these quarterbacks we think are bad, check back with me in November, and I'm not just talking about Arch. No. Even DJ Lagway, you're not going to convince me that he's bad. You could convince me that he's hurt, but you can't convince me that he's bad.
I'm going to say this. I think the SEC is chock full of above-average quarterbacks, no great quarterbacks. Is that fair?
Yeah, because I don't see anybody in the SEC that I'm like, remember like Andrew Luck? I mean, that's a heck of a thing when you're like, well, there's the first pick in the draft whenever it is he comes out. There's nobody like that in this league right now.
How about Tua and Joe Burrow in the same
Those are
class?
Top number 1 pick, top 5 pick. I don't see that, but I do see the SEC full of quarterbacks that NFL scout, that 32 NFL scouts are going to be at all of these pro days because they're trying to figure these guys out. Like, I know he's good. Is he great? That's what they're going to be saying about the SEC guys. I know they're good. Is he great? Maybe Mateer's great. Maybe.
Yeah,
I want
I'm
to
with
see
you.
Mateer against better teams too. And starting with Auburn.
Yeah, we may have to talk about that later on in the week, but right now we're going to talk about Monarch money because it's awesome. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like Jimmy. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at Monarch Money in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Yeah, we definitely want to get into that. Oklahoma-Auburn game is very, very important. We'll still do predictions for the SEC later on in the week, but Jimmy, let's wrap it up with a little recruiting here. I know there's an offensive lineman that is just blowing up out of Georgia, and he is getting all kind of offers, and he's setting visits to Alabama. And there's one other thing I want to throw out there, and this is basketball. Colvin Landrew, who is, I think he started out at Thompson. He's now in Georgia somewhere playing basketball, and he was a wide receiver at Thompson, if I remember right, and he was really good. I was like, whoa, that dude's going to be a thing. Well, apparently he's an awesome basketball player too, top 20 player in the country. He's eliminated Bama, Auburn, and Georgia, like the 3 teams that he's closest to. I just found that super interesting, and I find it interesting in the sense that I think it's good news for Alabama in that they feel really good about some other dudes. I also think it is telling about perhaps he maybe wants more of NIL stuff than those guys are
Maybe
willing to
the
go
schools
for.
dropped out when they got the price tag.
I just thought it was interesting that he's from Alabama, played at Thompson, now he's at Georgia, and he eliminates those three schools. So,
Yeah.
but again, I take it as a positive for Alabama. If I were Georgia or Auburn, I don't know that I'd take it as a positive. I'm not here to pretend that I'm up on Auburn and Georgia basketball recruiting. I'm just saying I know how well Alabama's been doing with visits and the way these visits have been going and the way they feel like they're really making headway with the Caleb Holtz and the Ratliffs and all those guys, right? So I feel good about where it is. I just haven't heard much about Auburn or Georgia basketball recruiting here recently. So I would be more concerned if I were those two.
Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing as bad news in Alabama basketball recruiting right now. Everything's coming up roses there. And if a kid eliminated us, I still think somehow, some way that must be good news because there is nothing but good news happening with Alabama basketball recruiting. With Jared Doty, he's the offensive lineman from Georgia, from Atlanta, I think. He's moved around, boys. I think it's affected his ranking and his recruiting. I think he's playing at like his third or fourth high school. But he likes Alabama a lot. Here's the thing. We talked about this all summer in the fall, when recruiting was sort of over in July. People would say, is that it? Is it? Is that all? And we were like saying, yeah, that's either it or the news that will happen between now and signing day isn't going to be a revelation. As a matter of fact, all top 100 players on the On3 industry ranking, all top 100 are now committed. I mean, we're months before signing day. All 100 are spoken for.
And let me interrupt you really quickly and say this again, tying in with basketball. It's the exact opposite with basketball. Like there's a whole article written the other day, like there are very few basketball commitments so far because everybody's trying to figure out the financials of
The
this
money.
stuff.
The money.
Football I guess is much easier because maybe there's so much more competition and I guess with basketball, the top 10 to top 15 players and 20 players in basketball are so much better than players 80 to 150. Yeah. And in football, number 150 might end up being better than number one. It's rare in basketball.
And is going to be highly paid.
Correct.
Yeah, and basketball, that wouldn't necessarily be the case, or at least everything relative. All so true. Well, I was saying about Jared Doty that makes him unusual is the typical guy that I foresaw as someone that might be added to Alabama's class would be like the kid from Mobile, Caleb Morris, who's committed to Mississippi State. 3-star for sure. I don't think that's going to change. 6'3", 260-ish now. And you're like, well, that's too small. Well, I mean, that's how big Jeremiah Beeman was. And now he's 300 pounds. I mean, this kid's going to grow later. But he's kind of typical. And you went for Alabama's offer to Caleb Morris. There's no way I would know this. And I can't know it. So I'll irresponsibly guess that you're probably not talking about a big revenue share number there or big NIL number for a kid that's committed to Mississippi State that's 6'3", 260, that's a 3-star. Probably not. Could be, but probably not. Jared Doty's a different dude now. I know the top 100 have already been kind of set. And by the way, I'm going to do like a whole show soon on a big problem with the rankings. There's probably no bigger time for rankings to change than senior season film and postseason all-star games. But so much of the rankings get sort of set before then. I'm just saying Jared Doty may be in reality one of the best 100 player prospects in the country. If you look at who's trying desperately to sign him, Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Auburn, Missouri's getting in there with a big NIL offer from what I hear. But I'm just saying this is now a very highly recruited kid, and his recruitment looks almost no different than a lot of these top 100 kids. So it'll be really interesting with Jared Doty about who's got rev share money and NIL money left after you've already spoken for so much of it. And you know where it could come from, Luke? Although you never should manipulate your roster this way. One thing about rev share that's kind of complicated, who's going pro early? Let's just pick an Alabama name, Bray Hubbard. I'm just picking that name. He's draft eligible. He's a redshirt sophomore. To me, Bray's the kind of kid that's going to come back. But if he comes back, you're going to have to pay. I mean, that he's a star in this game in 2026, a star, maybe a first team All-American. So you're gonna have to pay if he comes back. But if he goes, well, that frees up that money that you had to pay, right? That's the way we college football fans now have to think about recruiting and think about all of this. It's complicated. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's complicated, and you need good people in your front office. I just air quoted for those on Spotify. I air quoted front office, but it's true.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.